Class 8 Social Science Syllabus. History, Our Past 3 Part 1. Chapter 1, How, When and Where. This chapter covers the timeline of Indian history, the sources of information about it, and the important events and developments that took place during different periods. Chapter 2, From Trade to Territory, the company establishes power. This chapter explores the rise of the British East India Company, its policies, and the factors that enabled it to establish its power in India. Chapter 3, Ruling the Countryside. This chapter discusses the policies and practices of the British colonial administration in rural areas. The impact of land revenue and taxation policies on peasants, and the resistance movements that emerged in response. Chapter 4, Tribals, Daikus, and the Vision of the Golden Age. This chapter examines the interactions between the British and the tribal societies, their cultures, and the impact of colonialism on them. Chapter 5, When People Rebel. This chapter covers the major revolts and rebellions against British colonial rule, including the Sepoy Mutiny, the Revolt of 1857, and the impact of these events on India's struggle for independence. History, Our Past 3 Part 2. Chapter 1, Colonialism and the City. This chapter examines the impact of British colonialism on urban India, including the transformation of cities and the emergence of new social classes. Chapter 2, Weavers, Iron Smelters and Factory Owners. This chapter discusses the growth of industries in colonial India, including the traditional industries of weaving and iron smelting, and the emergence of modern factories. Chapter 3, Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation. This chapter explores the policies of the British colonial administration towards education, including the role of missionaries, and the impact of education on India's struggle for independence. Chapter 4, Women, Caste, and Reform. This chapter examines the role of women and the caste system in Indian society, and the social reform movements that emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries. Chapter 5, The Changing World of Visual Arts. This chapter covers the development of Indian art during the colonial period, including the emergence of new styles and techniques, and the impact of colonialism on the arts. Geography, Resources and Development. Chapter 1, Resources. This chapter defines and explains the different types of resources, including natural, human, and capital resources, and their importance. Chapter 2, Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife Resources. This chapter examines the various natural resources and how they are used, including land, soil, water, natural vegetation, and wildlife. Chapter 3, Mineral and Power Resources. This chapter explores the different types of mineral and power resources available in India and how they are used. Chapter 4, Agriculture. This chapter covers the importance of agriculture in India, the different types of farming practices, and the challenges faced by farmers. Chapter 5, Industries. This chapter discusses the various industries in India, including the manufacturing and service sectors, and the impact of industrialization on the country. Chapter 6, Human resources. This chapter explores the human resources available in India, including the population, the workforce, and the importance of education and healthcare. Civics, Social and Political Life 3. Chapter 1, The Indian Constitution. This chapter covers the principles and features of the Indian Constitution, including its preamble, fundamental rights, and duties. Chapter 2, Understanding Secularism. This chapter explores the concept of secularism, its importance in India, and the challenges faced in implementing it. Chapter 3, Why do we need Parliament? This chapter discusses the importance and functions of the Indian Parliament, including the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Chapter 4, Understanding Laws. This chapter examines the concept of laws, their importance, and how they are made and enforced in India.